I'll have more to say later, but I do want to say I'm filled with a sense of gratitude and love at this remarkable gathering. I thank you all for being here, and let me speak to those at home who were not able to be physically present with us. You are with us. We're grateful to have all of you with us. Those at home, those physically present, we are all one congregation here today together. And we turn now to the prayers of the Shaharit service. We begin on page 65. My dear friend and other Bima partner, Charles, leads us in Shaharit this morning, and I just want to say we should all feel blessed that we have someone like Charles in our congregation, so multi-talented and so interested and willing to stand at the Bima and lead us in tefillah, as he does now, page 65.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan us et vivina lehavchin ben yom uven laila.
Amen. Let's rise, and we're going to say the last phrase of each blessing now, and I'll say it in English. That first one, we thank you, God, for teaching us the difference between right and wrong.
She'asani b'tzalmo.
You've made us in your divine image.
She'asani Yisrael.
You've given us our Jewish heritage.
She'asani ben chorin.
You've given us freedom.
Pokeach iverim.
You give sight to the blind.
Malbish arumim.
You give clothing to those who are naked.
Matir asurim.
Releasing those who are bound.
Zokef gefufim.
Raising those who are downtrodden.
Rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Creating the heavens, the earth, this magnificent world in which we live.
She'asali kol tzarki.
Providing for all of our needs.
Amechi mitzadeh gaver.
Guiding us on our path and journey.
Ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Strengthening the people of Israel, giving us courage.
Oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Crowning our people with glory.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten li'aev koach.
We thank you, O God, for restoring us to full vigor when we are weary. We're going to have a somewhat abridged service, abridged Shaharit. So for those who are regulars in synagogue, there'll be some things you might expect us to do that we're not going to do. Let's turn forward now to page 81, Psalm 30. Let's be seated and read aloud together in English. A Psalm of David, a song for the dedication of the temple. I extol you, Adonai. You raised me up. You did not permit foes to rejoice over me.
Adonai, I cried out and you healed me. You saved me from the pit of death.
Sing to Adonai, you faithful. Acclaim God's holiness.
God's anger lasts a moment. Divine love is lifelong.
Tears may linger for a night. Joy comes with the dawn.
While at ease, I once thought, nothing can shake my security. Favor me, and I am a mountain of strength. Hide your face, Adonai, and I'm terrified.
To you, Adonai, would I call. Before the eternal would I plead.
What profit is there if I am silenced? What benefit if I go to my grave? Will the dust praise you? Will it proclaim your faithfulness?
Hear me, Adonai, be gracious, be my help.
You transform my mourning into dancing, my sackcloth into robes of joy, that I might sing your praise unceasingly, that I might thank you, Adonai, my God, forever. Ahafachtem ispidi lamacholi, pitakta saki v'tazreni simcha. L'ma'an yizamercha kavod l'lo yidom, Adonai Elohai, le'olam odeka.
The mourners among us, those observing a yahrzeit, rise now, join for Kaddish. We're on page 82. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi.
Amen.
Bialma divra kir'utei v'yamlich malchutei b'chaychon u'vyomeichon u'chay dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman karivim ru amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbi mevorach le'olam ula'olmei olmaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekud shabrichu. Li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata the Amiran Bialma Vimru Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shelama Rabba Min Shemaya, Haim Aleinu Vial Kol Yisrael Vimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimeromav Hu Ya Aseh Shalom Aleinu Vial Kol Yisrael Vimru Amen.
Amen.
Let's all rise now, continuing our tefillah on page 83.
Baruch Shema v'haya ha'olam.
Together, Baruch Hu,
Baruch Oseh v'reshi.
Baruch Omer Ve'oseh,
Baruch Gozer u'mekayim.
Baruch Merachem Al Haaretz,
Baruch merachem al habriot.
Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov Lireah,
Baruch Hai l'kayad v'kayam nanetzah.
Baruch Podeh Umatzir.
Baruch Shemo.
Take a moment to say the blessing at the bottom of 83. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam.
Yachid ke ha'olami, melech meshubach u'mufahar adei ad shemo ha'gadol. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal batishbachot.
Amen. We can be seated, continuing to pray the passages on 104, Nishmat Kol Chai, the breath of all living things, is a chorus of praise to you, our Creator.
Nishmat kol chai, tivarech et shimko Adonai Eloheinu.
Veruach kol basar tifa'eru tiromem zichrecha malkeinu yipar.
Ilupinu malei shira.
Ilufinu malei shira kayamu leshonenu rina kamon gala v'sifto tenu sheva kemerchavei rakia. Mimitzrayim galtanu Adonai Eloheinu b'divanu.
Nehalelecha u'neshabechecha u'nefarecha u'varech et shem kodshecha ka'amur leDavid bachi nafshi et Adonai b'chol karvai et shem kodsho.
The middle of 105.
Shochen ad maron v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai la'yesharim navatahila v'fi yesharim titala divrei tzadikim titporach
Uvelshon chazidim tetirama
ובקרב קדושים תתקדש.
Umakhalot b'livot amar beit Yisrael. We're near the bottom of 105.
להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, לעלה ולקלס, על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי עבדך מהשיחך.
Let's rise, 106.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד העולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודרות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלוקי העולמים.
Amen. We transition to the blessings of Shaharit with half Kaddish, the middle of 106.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ויעמד דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך
לעולם ולעולמי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לאלוה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
Now we begin the Shaharit blessings. We chant Baruch Hu with Charles, our affirmation that we've come together as a strong community, a congregation, to be together, to pray together, those of us here and those of us who are at home participating with us. We are all together here as a community, as a congregation. Let's begin Shaharit with Baruch Hu on 107.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvrei choshech oseh shalom uvrei et hakol.
Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruling the universe, creating light, fashioning darkness, ordaining the order of all creation. Let's be seated, the middle of 107. Hakol yoducha ve'akol yeshabechucha. Veladarim alea berachamim uvetu
Ein ke'echacha Adonai Eloheinu ba'olam hazeh ve'ein zulatecha malkeinu l'chayei ha'olam ha'haba. Efes piltecha go aleinu limot hamashiach ve'ein dome lecha moshienu litchiat ha'metim.
Charles leads us in El Adon 108.
El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch u'mevorach b'fi kol neshama gadlo v'tuvo male olam la'at u'tvuna sovavim oto hamit ga'e'ach chayot ha'kodesh v'nedor b'chavod al ha'merchava zechut u'mishor mipnei chiso Chesed v'rachamim lifnei kevodo tovim me'orot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram v'da'at v'vina uv'chaskel koach ugvura natan bahem liot moshlim bekerev tevel v'leim zin u'mefikim noga na'ezivam b'chol ha'olam Zmekim b'tzeitam b'tzahasim b'voam osim b'gehem aritzon konam B'chavod notnim lishmot zahalav v'rina v'zecher malchuto Hara l'shemesh v'yizrach or ra'ah v'hitkin zurat halvana Shevach notnim lo Kol tzevam aharon tiferet ugedula tzrafim v'ofanim v'chayot hakodesh.
Our blessing continues on 109. Continuing on 110.
Titbarak Zureinu Malkeinu V'go Aleinu
Borei Kedoshim Ishtashim Chaladim Valekeinu.
Kulam Avuhin, Kulam Berorim, Kulam Giburim, V'kulam Osim Be'ema, U'v'yira Ritzon Konam. V'kulam Potchim et Pihem, B'kedusha U'tahara, V'shira U'v'zimra, U'mevarchim U'shabchim U'mefa'arim, U'mat'aritzim, U'makdishim, U'mamlichim.
Et Shema el
Ha'el, Hamelech Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, Kadosh.
We're in the middle of 110.
Kulam ke'echadonim ve'omrim v'hira.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivot, Melech ha'aretz
Ofanim v'chayot
kevodo.
hakodesh bera'ash gadol mitnasim l'umat serafim. L'umatam meshabchim ve'omrim.
Baruch kevod Adonai mimeko homo. V'yel Baruch neimot yiteinu.
Orim gedolim kili olam chasto, or chadash al Zion ta'ir, or chadash al Zion ta'ir, v'nizkem kulanu mehera le'oro, Ve'erali oro. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch hu baruch Shemo.
Yotzer hameor.
Amen. Now we're on page 111, our bracha, our blessing about love.
Ahava rabba ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu emla Adonai.
V'tein belibenu lahavinu laskil lishmo lilmod ulemelid v'lasod ulkayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ahava.
And at this point, we gather our tzitzit on the bottom of our talit, wrap them carefully around our fingers, and as we prepare for this next passage, in which we ask God to bring together all our people from the four corners of the earth, which we know is round, and but particularly today, there are so many divisions among our people, especially in the Middle East, in Israel. And we pray that we have the inspiration, we're given the inspiration to have an impact on it, to heal the wounds and bring peace. We ask for divine inspiration, but the tzitzit wrapped around our fingers remind us of the mitzvot that we are to perform. That it's with divine inspiration, but it is up to us. So let's begin in the middle of the page with a little square to the Tuna Hatikva, the hope, and we certainly want hope today. V'havienu leshalom me'arba kanfot haaretz v'tolichenu Komemiu le'atzenu ki el poel Yeshut ata uvacharta mikol am v'lashon v'keravtanu l'shimcha hagadol Selah. Lehodot lecha uleyachecha be'ahava. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch hu baruch Shemo.
Habocher be'amo Yisrael mi'ahava.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvleftecha v'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha uv'shatam me'ot
al yadecha
v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uv'chavtam amazuzot beitecha uv'isharecha.
Take a moment to pray the passages of Shema privately, the middle of 112 to the middle of 113.
And please pay attention to the next paragraph, in which we learn that even in the biblical era, there was a sense that human beings had an effect on the climate. We behave, the rains will come. We don't, we'll soon disappear from the good Lord, from the good land which Adonai is giving you. Please keep that in mind as you pray.
V'ayim shamoah tishmeu al mitzvotai asher anochi mitzavecha et Adonai Elohechem u'li'ovedo.
Adonai Elohechem, Amen.
Amen. Our third Shaharit blessing, the middle of 113.
Emet v'yatziv
v'nachon v'kayam v'yashar v'neman v'yahuda. ודור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים.
Yotzreinu tzur, Yeshuatenu, Podenu, Umatzilenu, Me'olam Shemecha, Ein Elohim Zulatecha,
Ezrat Avotenu, Atahu Me'olam. We're on 114.
Tehilot le'el elyon barachu umevorach, Moshe uvnei Yisrael lechanu yeshira, v'simcha rabba ve'amru chulam, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedor ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot osefele. Shira chadasha shibechu gehulim l'shimcho al sefat hayam yachad kulam hodu v'him lichu ve'omru Adonai yimloch li'olam va'ed.
Let's rise.
Sur Yisrael kuma be'ezrat Yisrael uftechinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Gal Yisrael.
Amen. Now we begin Amida together, page 115b.
Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Ha'Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. בכלכל חיים בחסד. B'chayei metim v'rachamim rabim. So make noflim d'rofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, l'shenei afa, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidom elah. Melech memit umechaye umatmiach Yeshua b'nei emanata lahachayot metim baruch atah Adonai mechaye hametim.
Amen. We share in Kedusha 116.
Nikadesh et simcha ba'olam Geshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom Kakatuv al yad nevi'echa v'kara ze el ze v'yamah.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, melo kol haaretz kevodo. Az bechor ra'ash gadol, adir v'chazak mashpi'im kol, nitnasim l'umat serafim, le'umatam baruch yomeru.
Baruch kevod Adonai.
Baruch kevod Adonai mimekomo. Mimkomocho malkeinu tofia. Mimkomocho malkeinu tofia. V'tihim loch aleinu, v'tihim loch aleinu. Imachachim anachnu loch. Matai timloch b'tzion. B'karov yamenu li'olam va'ed tishkon. Tit gadal v'tit kadash v'tov Yerushalayim ircha v'dor v'ador u'lenetzach lenetzach netzachim v'einenu tirena malchutecha hadavar hamur v'shirei uzecha al yedei David Mashiach tzidkecha imloch le'olam v'chai Tzion l'dor v'ador hallelujah l'dor v'ador nagid godlecha u'lenetzach netzachim kedushatecha nagdish v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed El Melech Gadol v'Kadosh Ata Baruch Atah Adonai El HaKadosh.
Amen. Take a few moments now for private prayer. We can pray the passages of the Shaharit Amida, but God knows, as we do, there's so much more to pray about today. I want to bring our Amida to a close with a tefillah that is our oldest tefillah. It's from the Torah. It's part of every Amida. We sing it often on Shabbat. And those of you who know it, sing it with me. If you don't know it, you can learn it quickly. Kaddish to bring Shaharit to an end.
Sounds good. Yikadal v'yikadash Shema Rabbi, v'yalma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, b'galav v'zman kari v'imeru, amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevorach, le'olam u'olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imeru, amen. Titkabal zamatahon uvautahon dechol Yisrael kadam avahon divishmaya v'imeru, amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru, amen.
Yishar Koach, and thank you, my dear friend Charles, for leading us in Shaharit.
Thank you, Rabbi. And just since I have the microphone in front of me, I'm not a scheduled speaker, but I do want to say, it's only 20 minutes, don't worry. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, from what you have done for me in inviting me into this environment up to the Bima. And the arc of my life has really been different because of you and because of what you've brought me into, what you've taught me. And I just want to say how grateful I am. You are the younger brother I'd never had. Not only do you share a birthday with my older brother, my late older brother, but a name. He was also Meir. So there's a special attachment that I will feel forever, and I'm sure I speak for many of us in the congregation who feel the same way. And now I'm happy to call to the Bima Linda Griffler, who is our executive director for 15 years. And I don't know if we know this about Linda, but she had a career before she was here, was an executive director of an assisted living facility, social work, just a tremendous, wonderful human being. And she is here to say a few words.
Thank you, Charles, for that lovely introduction, and thank you for your beautiful voice at Shaharit. It is always a joy to hear you, and hope for many more. Good morning, and Shabbat Shalom. And hello to everybody watching at home. I know not everybody could be with us in person today, so a special shout out to those watching from their living rooms and their kitchens. And thank you to all of those here in the sanctuary. This is the first time, after so many, many months, that we are all gathered in person. What a beautiful way to celebrate Rabbi Cooper. I see you, that's good. I stand here this morning in a very new place for me, on the Bima. I always think of this as Rabbi Cooper's place, or at least over there. But my job, as you know, requires me to stay mostly behind the scenes, on email, one-on-one, at committee meetings, or more recently on Zoom. But on this special day, I have been asked by my dear friend and rabbi to speak to you from the Bima. Perhaps in his way, he is still teaching me and pushing me to find my voice. I am honored to have this chance to tell all of you about the Rabbi Cooper I know. Though the organizers of today's celebration have given me only 3 to 5 minutes to talk about a 23-year history, so I will do my best to keep it brief. But before I do, I want to thank Amy and the entire Cooper clan for sharing Mark with me and all of us at Oheb Shalom. Raising a family in the public eye of a synagogue is not an easy feat. It has been a joy to watch your family grow over the years. And Mark, you have managed to handle the clergy work-life balance with grace. You have been an inspiration to me. So, Mark Cooper, my friend, my colleague, and my rabbi, for the last 15 years together, we have lived, breathed, worked, collaborated, planned, commiserated, strategized, celebrated, and mourned all things Oheb Shalom 24/7. This partnership and the work that we do is unlike any other relationship I have ever had with a coworker. As my work spouse, we've come to know each other well, like when you begin a sentence and I finish it, or when I have a question and you already know what is on my mind. We always seem to know what's up next on our to-do list. Sometimes it's scary and we laugh, like we share a Star Trek Vulcan mind meld. But our relationship has never been just about work. You have cared for and guided me through two of the most difficult events of my life, my divorce and the loss of my father. Both happened within the very first few years after I started at Oheb. And even though we did not know each other well at that time, you cared for me and my family as if we had been lifelong friends. Now I'd like to share some things about Mark from a staff perspective. As close as many of you are with the staff at Oheb Shalom, I don't think anyone outside of our little staff bubble understands how much work goes on behind the scenes to keep our synagogue moving forward and Oheb strong. Rabbi, you have been the guiding force, shepherding our amazing staff on a daily basis. You bring energy, enthusiasm, creativity, dedication, and passion to the table every day. You have been the boots on the ground with us, providing support, inspiration, laughs, and advice, always ready to roll up your shirt sleeves and offer a helping hand. In addition, you have taken a deeply personal interest in each of our lives and never saw us as just a group of employees. We have always been family with you at the helm. This same work style is what characterizes your rabbinate to the congregation. Always a teacher, always caring for your flock, and sharing the humanity in you with us. You have ministered to our members 7 days a week, 7 nights a week, well beyond officiating at funerals and weddings and B'nai Mitzvah. I know that on 9/11, you were knocking on doors and ringing doorbells throughout the night, checking on our members. You've taught us the importance of treating people well, to practice being kind, to be our best selves, to experience life more fully by being in community together and living a Jewish life. Together, we have shared the Jewish holiday life cycle, celebrating Simchas Torah, Hanukkah, Purim, Passover, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We have celebrated the births of many children at Brit Milah and baby namings. We've danced at weddings, and we have mourned the loss of many of our loved ones. You bring your kindness and compassion to us in full measure and continue to keep God, Torah, education, Tikkun Olam, and Israel at the forefront of our lives. And you've shown us that when we do what is right and what is just and what is merciful, and when we abide by the tenets we've learned from you, we begin to experience the good and the holy. Thank you, Rabbi Cooper, for your passionate commitment to this congregation, your prayerful devotion to Torah, for teaching our children, and me, and providing each of us with the opportunity to learn and grow wherever we are on our individual Jewish journey. I offer my deepest gratitude to you, both personally and professionally, and I ask for God's blessing upon you and your family and this congregation. I will miss you. So I'd like to invite Sheila Kaufman, president of Miriam's Sisterhood, to say a few words. Sheila.
Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi, as a congregation, we have seen you grow as much as your kids. You brought your love of Israel to us and your knowledge of Judaism. You have prayed with us, consoled us, and marveled with us. For Miriam's Sisterhood, we thank you for your support. You popped into meetings, came to our donor luncheons, gave Devar Torahs when asked, called out the page numbers, and lifted the Torah for our Sisterhood Shabbatot. You supported Torah Fund by donating, speaking about it to encourage people to come to the event and donate, and we even honored you, our first male, this past April. You have had an open door and an ear for us when we needed to talk. You have stepped up to our requests, no matter how out of the ordinary, by even donning a couple of handbags to help us promote Designer Bag Bingo. You have spoken eloquently, and we appreciate it. Todah Rabbah, thank you for being there for us. It is my distinguished honor to present you with a gift from Miriam's Sisterhood. Notice the box? The shape of the box, I should say. If you had to guess, I would say you were quite astute. It's a Miriam's cup. So that you remember us always, and especially at your Seder table. It is handmade with an etching of a Hamsa, hand of Miriam, and the inscription says, Rabbi Mark Cooper, 1998 to 2021, with appreciation, Miriam Sisterhood. Rabbi, may you go from strength to strength and enjoy your next chapter in life, and please come back to visit us.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much. You can pass it.
Rabbi, say a quick word while we set up the Torah table. Get them to the right page in the Chumash.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you to Linda and thank you to Sheila. We're going to turn our minds and our hearts now to the reading of this week's parasha. We begin the fourth book of the Torah this week. We begin Parashat B'Midbar, and we'll be able to follow the parasha. We're just going to wing it here and say, in the Chumash, which I think you have a right to say. That's pretty obvious.
Rabbi, we would love for you to give the page numbers.
Yeah, they're not here. They're not on the cheat sheet. Look at that. So we're going to begin with chapter 2, verse 1, as we follow the triennial cycle. No, Lorraine, you're going to do this, right? And page 774, and Lorraine, our vice president of our congregation, is going to guide us through the Torah service this Shabbat morning.
So we're going to start Torah service on page 139, and I just want to say it is truly a wow moment to stand up here and to feel the presence of those of you at home and here. It is a moment of Kedusha and truly uplifting after this year. So I'm trying hard not to be verklempt, but it is something unbelievable. Ein kamocha ba'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kemasecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor vador, Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imlach le'olam va'ed, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom, av harachamim heitiva b'rtzonecha et Zion, tivnecha mot Yerushalayim, tivnecha mot Yerushalayim. Ki becha levad batachnu melech el-ram v'nisa Adon olamim. Vayehi ben Saharon Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai Ve'yafutzu oivecha Ve'yanusu misanecha mipanecha Ki mitzion tetzei Torah Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udevar Adonai meYerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato Ve'anarachetz Ve'lishmei Kaddisha Kaddisha Yakira Anamar Tushbechan Ve'anarachetz Ve'anarachetz Ve'lishmei Kaddisha Kaddisha Yakira Anamar Tushbechan Yeherava Kadamach Detitach Libi V'oraita V'tashli Mishali Delibi V'liba Dechol Amach Yisrael Letavu L'chaim V'lishlam Amen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo
Gadolul Adonai Iti Uneramema Shemo Yachdo Adonai HaGedula VeHaTivura VeHaTiferet VeHaNetzach VeHahod Ki kol b'shamayim u'va'aretz Ki kol b'shamayim u'va'aretz Lecha Adonai HaMamlacha V'hamid Naseh Lechol Erosh Ramemu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Ve'ishtachavu Lehadam Raglav Kadoshu Ramemu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Ve'ishtachavu Lehakadsho Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu
Thank you, Eileen, for leading us in Torah service today.
For Aliyah number 1, we have Maxine Mourner, and our reader will be Bob Sandor, chapter 2, verses 1 through 9 on page 774.
Yeah. Is the mic on? Is the floor mic on?
But I didn't hear it very much. People will see you better if it's okay with you.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam. Baruch
again.
Atah Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bar harbanu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
I'm just trying to. No, not she got up there first. Did she do the blessings? She did, but let's find the place. Hold on. Is that it?
Right here.
Okay.
Amen. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe v'el Aharon lemor. Ish al diglo v'otot leveit avotam. Yachanu b'nei Yisrael mihineged. Saviv liohel moed yachanu v'hachonim kehed mamizracha degel. Machane Yehuda letzivotam v'nasi livnei Yehuda Nachshon ben Aminadav utzva'o uvkudehem Arba v'shivim elef v'shesh me'ot v'hachonim alav mateh Yisachar v'nasi livnei Yisachar Nitanel ben Tzuar utzva'o uvkudav Arba v'chamishim elef v'arba me'ot mateh Zevulun v'nasi livnei Zevulun Eliyav ben Chelon utzva'o uvkudav Shiva v'chamishim elef v'arba me'ot kol hapkudim limachane Yehuda me'at elef u'shmonim elef v'sheshet alafim v'arba me'ot letzivotam Rishona Yisa'u.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayolam nirta b'tuheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Okay. For our second Aliyah, we have Michael and June Schechner. The reader will be Barbara Parlin. And it's page 775, verses 10 to 16.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Degel machane Ruvain, temana litzvotam, v'nasi livnei Ruvain, Elitzur ben Shteur, utzva'ov kudav, shisha v'arba'im, elef v'chamesh me'ot, v'hachonim alav, Mate Shimon v'nasi livnei Shimon Shlumiel ben Tzurishaddai, Utzvaov Kudehem, Tish'a v'chamishim, Elef v'shalosh meot, Umate Gad v'nasi livnei Gad, Eliasef ben Ruel, Utzvaov Kudehem, Chamisha v'arba'im elef v'shesh meot v'chamishim, Kol hapkudim lamachane Reuven, Me'at elef ve'echad v'chamishim elef v'arba meot v'chamishim litzvotam u'shneim yisa'u.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam natav v'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Lehi v'chai Yehudi, Yashiko hechi Yocheved, Bar Eliezer v'Chana. Tamod nechal bat shalom l'aliyah shlishit, Yacharim Rachel. Moshe Yosef Yocheved. Now we're kind of.
Yes. Okay. Okay, for our third Aliyah, we have Norma Schechner, and our reader is Rachel Brightman. Pages 776, verses 17 to 24.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavora.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Voed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorak Le'olam Voed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahu banu mikol ha'amim, v'natanu lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'nasa ohel moed. Machanei haleviim betoch hamachanot, kasher yachanu kein yisa'u, ish al yado ledigleihem. Degel machanei Ephraim letzivotam yama, v'nasi livnei Ephraim, Elishama ben Amihud, utzva'o fikudeihem, arba'im elef v'chamesh me'od, Ve'alav matei Menashe, v'nasi livnei Menashe, Gamliel ben Pidatzur, utzva'o fikudeihem, shnayim u'shloshim elef u'matayim, u'matei Binyamin, v'nasi livnei Binyamin, Avidan ben Ginoni, utzva'o fikudeihem, Chamisha u'shloshim elef ve'arba me'od, kol ha'pikudim lemachanei Ephraim, me'ad elef u'shmonat alafim u'me'al etzivotam, u'shelishim yisa'u.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet. V'hayei olam natav v'tekanu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Yamod Alexander Leza Ben Isan ve'Evelyn Laliyah.
Well, obviously, the cantor's reading Aliyah 4. The honorees are Lorraine and Gary Service. It's chapter 2, verses 25 to 31, still on page 776.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Voed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Dega machane dan safon letzivotam. V'nasi livnei dan achi ezer ben amishadai. Utzvaov kudehem. Shnayim v'shishim elef v'sheva me'od. V'achonim alav mate asher.
ונשיא לבני אשר פגיהם בין עוכרם, וצבאות פקודיהם 140,500, ומטה נפתלי, ונשיא לבני נפתלי אחירה בנינם, וצבאות פקודיהם 53,400. פה כל הפיקודים למחנה דן, 157,600, לאחרונה יישאו לדגליהם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
יעמדו טלי בת רפאל ורבקה ודוד בן צבי הרש וצבי
Tali and
יחד
David
עם
Schwartz.
חיה בת ירוחם ושרה לעלייה חמישית.
Okay, Claire Cantor will be reader, chapter 2, verses 32 to 34 on page 777.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Eile pekudei b'nei Yisrael lebeit avotam. Kol pekudei hamachanot letzivotam. 600,000 ו-550 והלוויים לוחות פקדו בתוך בני ישראל, כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה. ויעשו בני ישראל ככל אשר ציווה אדוני את משה. כן חנו לדגליהם וכן עשו איש למשפחותיו על בית אבותיו.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Mark, Marcy and Graham Silbert, our reader, will be Travis Gearing. We're in chapter 3, verses 1 to 4, page 777.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'habanu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Halfway down.
Amen. Ve'elech toladot Aharon u'Moshe b'yom diber Adonai et Moshe b'char Sinai ve'elech shemot b'nei Aharon habachor Nadav V'itamar Elazar Elech Shemot B'nei Aharon HaKohanim HaMeshuchim Asher Milech Yadam Lechahen
L'chachein and umot, L'chachein vayam, vayamot nadav, va'avihu lifnei Adonai, v'hakrivam, Eish tzara lifnei Adonai, b'midbar Sinai, uvanim lo chayu lachem, v'chachein Elazar v'itamar al pnei Aharon avihem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'torheinu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen yashar kovechem. Yamdu Moredu kevod harav meir chayim meitzav v'shendel v'tzvi tzivya bat Elia v'shoshana naliyah shvi.
Rabbi and Amy Cooper with our reader Stuart Shulman. We have chapter 3, verses 5 through 13 on page 778.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, hakarev et matei Levi, v'ha'amadata oto, lifnei Aaron hakohen, v'sheretu oto, v'shamaru et mishmorto, v'et mishmeret kol ha'edah, lifnei ohel moed, la'avod et avodat hamishkan, v'shamaru et kol kolei ohel moed, v'et mishmeret b'nei Yisrael, la'avod et avodat hamishkan, v'natata et haleviim li'aharon ulivanav, nitunim hema lo, me'ei b'nei Yisrael, v'et Aharon v'et banav tivkod, v'shamaru et kahunatam, v'chazar hakarev yumat. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, va'ani hine lekachti et haleviim mitoch b'nei Yisrael tachat kol bechor peterechem mi b'nei Yisrael v'hayu li haleviim ki li kol bechor biyom hakoti kol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim hikdashti li kol bechor b'Yisrael me'adam ad behemah li yihiyu ani Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Rabbeinu and Amy, beloved of this congregation, this small offering of prayer on your behalf. I speak truly on behalf of this whole Kehillah Kedusha, as will many others this morning, but not as many as want to speak to you on this moment, in this moment, which is the whole community. מי שברח אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב ואמותינו שרה רחל ולאה הוא יברך את מורנו כבוד הרב מאיר חיים ויצחק ושנה ואת הרבצן שלנו Sivia Badelia Vishoshana Babu Shalu Lichvor Makon Lichvor Torah Lichvor Shabbat Ubavu Shechinu Beit Knesset Litvilah Vebau Betocha Litpalel ונתנו נר למאור וקידוש ויין לקידוש והבדלה ובעבור שנתנו פת לאורחים וצדקה לעניים ובעבור שעסקו בצורכי ציבור ובבניין ארץ ישראל באמונה בישחזק הקדוש ברוך הוא יברך אתכם ואת כל משפטכם וישלח ברכה, הצלחה, ימים טובים, ימי עולם לכם ולכל משפחותיכם עם כל ישראל אחיכם ונאמר Amen. Friends, of all the brachot we offer and will offer today for our beloved Rabbi and for our beloved Amy, I tried to base this one on what is held up as the height of what one can give to any community, and you'll find it here in your own prayer book on page 148 in the middle. I'll let you peruse that at your leisure. When we bless those who have involved themselves, when we bless the community itself, a sacred community, these are the mitzvot we raise up, and every one of them has been done by the two people who stand before us today. And why don't you rise? We'll do Chatzi Kaddish and Kol Maftir and continue. Yitgadol v'yitgadash Shema Rabbi Yamad yivrach yidutei v'yamdi malchutei v'chayechon tomechon uv'chayei lehomed Yisrael Bagala Bagala ובזמן קריב ימרו אמן ישמר המברה מעלה ליומי וביום יברך ישתבח ויבא ויתרומה וינשא ורדו ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשו בריחו לעילה מנגו וחטא ושירתה תושבעת נחמתה להירה מעל וימרוה תעמוד ליבדינה לידינה עד אליה ושושנה יחד עם שמעון בן יליהו ורפאל ושרה מפתיע.
So let's be seated. My sister-in-law, Lori Skop, is going to chant the Haftarah. She'll do from the book of Hosea. I don't know the page in the Chumash. What is that? You don't have the Chumash page?
I'm not doing it yet, though. It says it
Yeah, I'm just giving them advance notice. So, shortly after Lori goes up and says the bracha, she'll say the Haftarah. Go ahead.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach l'olam va'ed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher bachar banu mikol amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch et Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe Lemor. Va'ani hinei lakachti et haleviim. Mitoch b'nei Yisrael tachach kol bechor peperecha mibnei Yisrael v'hayu li haleviim. Kili kol bechor biyom hakoti kol bechor Eretz Mitzrayim, Hikdashti li chol bechor b'Yisrael, me'adam ad behema, li yihiyu ani Adonai.
Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch et Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Let's rise as the Torah scroll will be lifted and rolled, closed, and dressed. Alan and Marilyn, I think. So now, let's remain standing. Cantor will lead us in the prayer for those in need of healing, our Mishaberach Lecholim. When we pause in the middle of our bracha, we'll invite everyone present here, everyone with us from home, to offer the name of a loved one, a friend, someone for whom you wish to pray for refu'ah, for healing.
Take a moment now and consider those who reside in your hearts, the ill of this congregation, and those who need to suffer throughout the world.
And let us say, kindly be seated. So now we turn to the Haftarah. I was going to say before that my son Yoni and daughter-in-law Nina, they were hoping to be the representatives of our children here on this Shabbat, and they made every valiant effort to be here. The traffic patterns leading into the Holland Tunnel at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon didn't allow them to make it here before Shabbat. They had to turn back and go back home. And so I've turned to my wonderful sister-in-law, Lori Skop, who is willing and able to chant the Haftarah today. She's going to chant verses that we selected in advance. They happen to be in the message of the prophet Hosea, the more positive, uplifting passages rather than the ones that have a tone and message of gloom and doom. So those are the verses, and Lori, if you could just say from the top of that page which ones they are.
It's chapter 2, verses 1 through 3 and 16 through 22.
Go for it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'neviim tovim, v'ratzav v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdo, u'v'Yisrael amo, u'v'nevi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. V'haya מספר בני ישראל ככל הים, אשר לא יימד ולא יספר, והיה במקום אשר יאמר להם לא מי אתם, יאמר להם בני אל חי. ונקבצו בני יהודה ובני ישראל יחדיו, ושמו להם ראש אחד ועלו מן הארץ, כי גדול יום ישראל. אמרו לאחיכם עמי, ולאחותיכם רוחמה. לכן הנה אנוכי מפתיה, והולכתיה המדבר, ודיברתי על ליבה. ונתתי לה את כרמיה משם, ואת עמק אחור לפתח תקווה, וענתה שמה כימי נעוריה, וכיום עלותה מארץ מצרים. והיה ביום ההוא נאום אדוני, תקראי אישי, ולא תקראי לי עוד בעלי, והסירותי את שמות הבעלים מפיה, ולא יזכרו עוד בשמם. וחרתי להם ברית ביום ההוא, עם חיית השדה ועם עוף השמיים, ורמס האדמה, וקשת וחרב ומלחמה, אשבור מן הארץ, והשכבתים לבטח. וארסתיך לי לעולם, וארסתיך לי בצדק ובמשפט, ובחסד וברחמים. וארסתיך לי באמונה, וידעת את אדוני. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך, אחור לא ישוב ריקם, כי המלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית אבי משיחך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכפה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים והיום השבת הזה שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Ashrei 151. Eva Sheedy comes forward to lead us. It's somewhat remarkable to me that I officiated at Eva's baby naming in pretty much that exact spot in the sanctuary, and now she's graduating high school and going off to college. Page 151.
Ashrei yoshvei ve'techa, od yehalalucha selah. Tehillah leDavid, aromimcha Elohai hamelech, v'avracha shimcha leolam va'ed. Gadol Adonai mchulal me'od, ve'ligdolato in cheker. Hadar kivod hodecha, v'nivrei niflotecha asicha. Zecher rav tucha yabi'u, v'sidkatcha yiranenu. Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Kavod malchut hayomeru, v'ratzucha yedaberu. Malchut ha-malchut kol amim, umemshatecha bechol dor v'ador. Einei chol elecha yesaberu, ve'ata noten lachem et achlam be'ito. Sadik Adonai bechol derachav, ve'chasid bechol ma'asav. Retzon yirav ya'aseh, ve'et shavatam yishma v'yoshiem. Tehilat Adonai yedaver pi, v'yivarecho basar shem kodsho le'olam va'ed, va'anachnu nevarech ya, nathavi ad olam, hallelujah.
Thank you, Eva. I'd like us to sing that last line together.
Nevarech ya, ve'ata ve'olam, ve'ata ve'olam, hallelujah,
Linda, let's rise for prayer for the United States government.
Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessing for our country, for its government, for its leaders and advisors, and for all who exercise just and rightful authority. Teach them insights from your Torah, that they may administer all affairs of state fairly, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom may forever abide in our midst. Creator of all flesh, bless all the inhabitants of our country with your spirit. May citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in true harmony to banish hatred and bigotry and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May this land under your providence be an influence for good throughout the world, uniting all people in peace and freedom, helping them to fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they experience war anymore. And let us say, Amen.
So now we're going to call up Liz and Morty Kubani, who are going to lead us first in Hebrew, then in English, Tfilah Lishlom HaMedina. And before they do so, I would just like to say that we cannot say this tefillah today in the normal routine way that we might otherwise say it. I ask that we have special kavanah, a special focused purpose in our hearts as we say this tefillah today. I'd like us to pray for the IDF, for the Israel Defense Forces, among whom our own son will be counted in a matter of just a few months. I'd like us to pray for their strength, their courage, and their safety as they defend the state of Israel. And I'd like us all to pray for shlemut, for a sense of wholeness, which in my mind I understand as making room for everybody, making room in even the tightest of spaces for everybody. Everybody who feels that that is their place and that is their purpose. May there be the truest manifestation of shalom, where nobody is displaced and everybody finds their place living together in harmony. May somehow that inch a little closer to reality after we say these words of prayer. Morty?
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל. צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, הגן עליה בעברת חסדיך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך, ושלח אוריך ואימתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך, וחזק את ידי מגיני ארץ קודשנו, והנחילם אלוהינו ישועה, ועטרת ניצחון תיאטרם. ונתת שלום בארץ, ושימחת העולם ליושביה, ונאמר אמן.
אמן.
Avinu Shebashamayim, rock and redeemer of the people of Israel, bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. We're ready to return the Torah to the Ark. We are on page 153. Who is saying the final verses of the Torah service now? Yahalelu. Cantor? Yahalelu.
So before I start, I just want to let you know I'm going to do something that I haven't done in 23 years from the Bima. I'm going to call our rabbi, Mark, because I'm going to talk to you about what it's like to have your rabbi also be your friend. Pirkei Avot teaches us, select for yourself a master teacher, acquire a friend for study. Seek for yourself a master teacher, acquire a friend for study. When I was growing up, my rabbi, Rabbi Lewis, was a very imposing 6'5" Irishman. He had a big, deep voice. He was very authoritative. He taught, we listened. I actually didn't think he had a first name. I thought his first name was Rabbi, until his brother, Barney, came over from Dublin, and we found out that not only was his name Theodore, they called him Teddy. So that was very exciting to find out that the rabbi had a name. He was a very important figure in my life, a lot of knowledge, but not someone I would call my friend. After I left Newport, I had many other rabbis who I learned from, who I revered and respected. And then in 1998, Mark Cooper came to Ohab Shalom congregation. We were at the same age and stage of life. One of us was just before 40, one of us had just turned 40. Okay, it was me, I'm 18 months older, and I have used that. So just know you can use age on him. But we were both parents of growing children and the children of aging parents. And those shared life experiences, as I was growing into leadership at the congregation, were part of the basis for our friendship. I have a very, very clear memory of the Friday afternoon before Eitan's bar mitzvah. And somehow I wound up in Mark's office with Amy, Mark's parents. The boys are running in and out. Does everybody have the yad? Does everybody have their suits and coats and ties? Who's picking someone up from the airport? At one point, I was almost going to pick someone up from the airport. And in the middle of this tumult, Mark looked up and he looked at me and he said, I will never be the same rabbi to the parents of bar and bat mitzvah children again. And to watch him grow as a parent in that experience and as our rabbi in that experience was a privilege for me. And we've celebrated many happy occasions together, but somehow so much more so are the difficult times. And I don't know how many of you remember this, but in a very short period of time, Cantor Ricky and I, and then Mark, each lost a parent. To say Kaddish with your clergy as we were entering this other period of life, as things began to change, to watch, to be with them in that moment as friends, and then to watch them lead the congregation from that place was another moment of coming together. For those of us who were here in synagogue for the first Yizkor service after Mark's mom, Shirley, passed away, it was an unforgettable moment, both in terms of his ability to share personal, emotional pain and to inspire all of us with what memory means. And again, to watch your friend go through this, also as a klei kodesh, as a holy vessel for the congregation, was to watch him grow and to watch him help this congregation grow. But our friendship goes beyond age and stage of life. We have shared a commitment to family, to this congregation, to the land and the people and the state of Israel, and in fact to the Jewish people for 23 years. Did you ever go to a restaurant and forget your cheaters so that you can't see the menu and you have to hand it back and forth between your spouse or a friend? Or did you ever share binoculars when you're trying to view something? That's what Mark and I have done for 23 years. We have traded lenses with each other, helping each other to see through a challenge, to encounter a new reality, We have done this in places as varied as the Village Coffee Shop in Maplewood, in Cherkasy, Ukraine, where there might have been an awful lot of vodka involved. That was on a Federation mission. And at the end of another huge trip of Americans to Israel in the middle of a field outside Tel Aviv. I've been told this about myself, and I know it's true about Mark, that we look different when we're in Israel. There's something about being in that home where you can breathe differently that I think makes us each look a little different. So we've devoted our lives to these things. We have relied on each other. We call each other, one of us hair on fire, or the other. We talk each other down, we use humor, and we remind each other of how much whatever the issue is means to us. And I will always, always be grateful in my leadership journey here at this congregation and throughout, including my time in leadership at Federation, that I knew that someone had my back. Even if he thought I was totally wrong about something, or maybe even I thought he was totally wrong about something, but to have someone have your back, who is also your rabbi, is quite a remarkable thing to have in one's life. Mark, I am so grateful that you were our rabbi, and I am even more grateful that you will always be my friend.
Shabbat Shalom. For those who don't recognize, it's Dad's notebook. And for big occasions like this, I know he's watching and he's cavelling and he's saying, wow, Rabbi, great job. So friends, wow, 23 years is a really long time, almost a quarter century. And Rabbi Cooper has been the master knotter, helping to weave the intricate pattern that makes up the fabric of our strong community. And with the third longest tenure of all of our 16 rabbis, or as he likes to say, one of the 5 rabbis in the last 110 years. He's one of the key links that connects us with our founders from 1860. And with such a long tenure, and I was asked to make a presentation of a gift which they'll be bringing out, it's quite impossible to encapsulate his accomplishments or what he's done for us in this time. Rather, I want to discuss 3 key pillars and things that when I think of Rabbi Cooper and what he's done for us, those are the things that I remember, and those are Israel, education, and children. And Israel, we all know that Rabbi Cooper's passion for Israel was evident from the day he started. He was the driving force behind our Israeli Affairs Committee, where his annual Israeli programming, the periodic Israeli bond drives, or his energetic leadership of our participation in the Israeli Day Parade. When I'm saying energetic, imagine a 6'3" guy going like this and like this. It was amazing. He strived to make sure that Israel is a major focus of our community. He led 2 successful congregational trips to Israel, which even stronger bonds were formed among our congregants and between our congregation and the Holy Land. And he also led a teen trip to Israel. But besides programming, Rabbi Cooper delivered many passionate sermons on the high holidays, on the centrality of Israel, and he was always available for nuanced discussions on Israeli-Palestinian relations. And on many of our First Fridays, including the one last week in the parking lot, he held impromptu discussion about Israeli politics and went toe-to-toe with many folks. Now, with education, the second pillar of what I think about Rabbi Cooper, he oversaw several generations of adult education, including the latest version of lifelong learning. And whether it's exhorting us all to create compelling programming or finding inspiring outside speakers, Rabbi Cooper would always push us to be at the cutting edge. Additionally, his Wednesday morning study sessions after Minyan were always well attended And no, it was not because there was a Kaddish. He was always interested in educational innovation and was an early adopter of internet Zoom-based study programs. And with respect to children's education, he established Ob Sholom, the cutting-edge Etgar program, which for those of you who remember, this inspired teens for several years to continue their post-B'nai education, Jewish education. And they led them on several great trips, New Orleans, Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, and Nashville. And the kids still talk about that today. But lastly, and one of the most striking is when I think about children. Yes, he's a father of 5 boys, and now he's a proud grandfather of 3. But he has a great way with children. When I would go down into Mickey Freed, it was a striking image, this 6'1" tall figure walking with 3-foot tall old 3-year-olds. And you could see him regularly down there reading to the toddlers or in the hallways talking with the children from Zeman. His natural rapport with children of all ages led to 2 successful family retreats that helped to inculcate our children with a love of Judaism at Camp Ramah in the Berkshires. And speaking of Camp Ramah, if it wasn't Amy, it was him. He was an unflinching advocate for Jewish summer experiences, and he spent many summers there. In terms of impact on our children, we added it up. He shepherded over 330 of our children with their Divrei Torah, helping them to learn firsthand how their Torah is an ever-living document with insights available to all. 330 children. So how do you honor a man who's been here since the turn of the century? Yes, the 21st century. So first, we are establishing the Rabbi Mark Cooper Fund to help perpetuate these 3 themes of his rabbinate: Israel, children, and education. And so the Rabbi Mark Cooper Fund, which we've established, the annual income will go to fund Israeli programming in Mickey Freed, Israeli programming in the Zeman School, and if anything's left over, it will go to fund adult Israeli programming. What is really impressive, is that we have raised over $75,000. That's an amazing amount. And there's this beautiful ad journal, thank you to Jody and the staff, and thank you all for contributing to it, that you got in links in your email. And we're continuing to raise funds, so if anybody has missed the deadline, there's never a deadline on this, feel free to contribute. Now, but we also want to honor him with something besides the establishment of fund, because that fund, in reality, is for us here, to remember him. But we wanted to give him a gift, something that he can take with him and hopefully remind him of his tenure and accomplishments here at Ob Shalom. So this is what we're giving him, which is to the right. As you all know, the rabbi's office is up the stairs and to the left. And outside of this office, there's a bench from our former home on High Street in Newark. Now, no doubt, all of you can picture that bench, but I bet you many didn't realize that this picture was above that bench. It's a 3-panel panorama of Jerusalem, and it's a vista that Rabbi Cooper has eyed every morning and every evening whenever he went into his office. And we felt that it would be fitting to have him take that part of the building with him. So, Rabbi, we hope you take this token of our appreciation, and that whenever you look at this painting, and even though it is of Jerusalem, you'll see Ob Sholom. So in closing, the success of a rabbi is not what he or she did, but the impact on the congregation. And to see this impact, just look around. And for those of you at home, just think about it. We are strong. Yes, we are Oheb strong. And it is a large part due to his continued efforts, the rabbi's caring, his devotion over these past 23 years. And he's left an impact on all of us. So we wish Amy and him only the very best of health, happiness, and fulfillment as they continue on life's journey. May you go from strength to strength.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to everyone who has participated in this incredible morning. I love the gift. I was asked what I might want, and I said that. And I'm really grateful that Ob Sholom was willing to part with it. It's going to hang in our home, and I'm grateful to have it. Now, many of you know that I am a bit of a crier at moments like this, and there may be a few passages in my comments that you might hear me pause and try to compose myself. I'll do my best. I had glasses. If I couldn't make it through the Aliyah Bracha, then the Devar Torah is going to be even more challenging. My dear friends, I'm truly overwhelmed to stand before you this Shabbat. You who are physically present here in our sanctuary, and you who are participating from home. I'm deeply moved by the good wishes that you've offered to me and to Amy and our family as I bring my tenure as your rabbi to a close and embark on a new stage of my life. I'm deeply grateful for the tributes that you've bestowed on me, the many kind words expressed publicly and privately, by the reminiscences of moments and times from the past 23 years that have been shared with me over the past few months as you and I have prepared for this transition. And I'm grateful for this Shabbat of gathering in friendship as a congregation. When we first sat down to discuss and decide what this event should look like, I insisted that we say farewell to one another at a Shabbat morning service. To me, this is when we are at our best, gathering together to enjoy Shabbat through prayer, through music, camaraderie, and of course, food. It took many, many hours of planning and hard work to enable this day to happen. And I offer my deep appreciation to the planning team and to those who assisted them. I was tempted to try to thank each person individually. I received good advice from a very dear friend to avoid doing that, both in the interest of time and also because somebody would inevitably be left off the list, and I don't want anyone to go home today beroiges or angry. It's difficult to acknowledge in one moment all of the people that I have had the pleasure and privilege of working with across the years of my rabbinate here. But I must and I will pause to express gratitude to my staff partners here at Ob Sholom. We are blessed with a team of hardworking and devoted people who respect one another, who strengthen one another. I'm grateful to have worked with such hardworking, talented, and creative people over many years. And I have often said that Ob Sholom is blessed with truly exceptional, devoted lay leadership. This is a congregation that displays enormous respect to its clergy and its staff, people who work hard for the benefit of the congregation, our officers, our trustees over many years. I am grateful. This is the largest gathering of Ob Sholom congregation in our building since the beginning of the pandemic more than a year ago. To those participating from home, I want you to know that you are very much a part of this special day, and that I know you would be here in person if you could. For those who do have the special zechut of being able to attend in person, I hope you feel that sense of excitement at being back in our building. The past year has been such a strange and difficult one for us all. We experienced a once-in-a-century global pandemic that changed the way we live our lives, that presented enormous challenges to all of us as individuals, as families, and as a congregation. Thanks to our hard-working staff, to our visionary and devoted lay leaders, and to you, the members of this historic congregation, we are able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. To paraphrase the Haggadah, we raise our voices in expressing thanks to our Creator for having empowered and inspired us to transform darkness into light, fear into hope, and to reclaim the joy of life. So I'm filled with gratitude today for all that is happening on this day and for all that has happened since I arrived in South Orange in 1998. As I bring an end to my tenure of 23 years here and 36 years as a congregational rabbi, I've spent time reflecting on what it means to be a rabbi. This is a truly remarkable profession, a calling, if you will. When I was interviewed by Julia Serebrinsky and Stephen Hanselman for the piece they wrote in the review, it's a beautiful piece, and I'm so happy and grateful that they did that, I told them that I had announced my intention to become a rabbi when I was 12 years old, in the 6th grade. It's true that in my early childhood I wanted to become a rabbi. Well, to be sure, no 12-year-old can actually know what the profession of the rabbinate is about, let alone a 25-year-old just beginning this sacred work. But in the course of my life as a rabbi, I've grown, and I've learned what it means to be a rabbi. I'm a different person from the 40-year-old, dark-haired person who arrived here in 1998 to begin my work as your rabbi. Back then, Amy and I had 4 young sons, ranging in age from 8 to 1. That 8-year-old is now a rabbi himself. Each of our children is a strong, accomplished adult, living a meaningful Jewish life. The seeds of their Jewishness were, yes, of course, planted by me and Amy, but they were planted by you as well. You've watched our family grow to 5 sons and 3 grandsons. Our family became your family. Each of my children wanted to be here today, but that was not possible. They all have fond memories of having grown up at Ob Shalom, of having become bar mitzvah here and being part of this congregation, of celebrating special moments of the Jewish year. And when we do gather together, they do sing the highlights of the Ne'ilah service. They remember fondly the beautiful melodies that Cantor Lippitz sings, and they are special parts of their lives. I'm a different person from the person who arrived 23 years ago. I've matured, I've changed, and I've come to know intimately what this work is about. It's about being a pastor. It's about caring and worrying about each member of the synagogue family. It means helping people carry the burdens of pain and suffering and challenge, and that can be wearisome. And equally, it's about the special privilege of being with people as they celebrate life's joys. To be a rabbi is to be trusted with an intimate insight into people's lives, and to honor that trust by being an attentive and sensitive listener. To be a rabbi is to be a role model, a representative of the Jewish tradition. And that is a significant and weighty responsibility that requires a commitment to study and learning and a fidelity to the practice of Jewish life. A rabbi must understand that people are looking to him or her for inspiration to live meaningfully as Jews, and must help people to explore their faith, often by putting his or her own faith on display to be discussed and examined. A rabbi is an educator of adults, of teens and children, not only in the classroom, but in every conceivable setting where we encounter each other. I'm a different person. I'm a different rabbi. From the one that arrived 23 years ago. But I've grown not in a vacuum or in isolation, but I've grown with you, and in some deeply important ways because of you. The challenges and opportunities you've placed before me, the stories you've shared with me, the questions you've brought to me, they've required me to grow, to expand my mind, even to deepen and scrutinize my own faith. You've been my teachers, challenging me to be a better, deeper, more creative Jew and rabbi. And I'm grateful to you for engaging with me over the vast array of issues of Jewish living. I'm a better and a stronger person because of the years that I have spent here with you. So, given the opportunity to offer some words of inspiration to you on this farewell Shabbat, I would say this: the Jewish story will continue only if each of you participate actively in its continuation. Our journey as a people is a remarkable one, lasting longer than anyone should ever have expected it would. Across the nearly 4,000 years of our existence, there have been so many moments where by logic and reason we should have stepped off the stage of history and disappeared into the mists of time. But that didn't happen. Here we are, the tiny Jewish people, still telling our story, still making huge contributions to human civilization, thriving in a land of our own. How is that possible? Why are we still here? It's because in every generation, there are individuals and families and communities who take seriously the responsibility of engaging with that story actively, embellishing it, adding to it, taking it seriously, passing it down to the next generation. But my friends, that process is simply not guaranteed to continue. Yes, it could end at any moment. There's a tendency, an inclination to view religion as serving our needs, as making us happy, bringing us fulfillment. And there is something to that. Judaism, like all religions, must be sufficiently dynamic and creative to engage and be interesting to people. Jewish religion must be able to evolve and change in response to the times in which we live, or else it will become a dinosaur. But Judaism also requires a determined commitment from people to engage, to learn, to explore, and to grow. We've existed in this world for nearly 4,000 years. Shalom has existed for just a bit more than 160 of those years. Why? Because you, its members, have kept our Jewish tradition alive and vibrant. But that should not and cannot be taken for granted. Jewish life and this congregation needs you to be active and engaged participants, learners, in order to remain vital. In the book of Genesis, when Jacob's name is changed to Yisrael, he is told, Ki im Yisrael ki sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim vatuchal. You have striven with beings divine and human, and you have prevailed. That is our challenge as a people and as a congregation, to strive with beings divine and human and to grow and to prevail in our quest to continue our story. It's been my privilege to help you in that sacred task for the past 23 years, and I speak with confidence by saying that I know this congregation will continue that holy work with determination and a sense of purpose for years to come. In the Talmud, we read about a moment that was somewhat ordinary in that it happened every night. In the courtyard of the temple, there was a shift in those who were standing guard at the eternal light. And the Talmud tells us that as one person went off shift and another came on to take their place, they wished each other a simple bracha, a simple blessing, consisting of only 4 words. One said to the other, I wish you ahava, achva, shalom, vereut. I wish you love, for that is what connects one to another. I wish you achava, brotherhood and sisterhood, the blessing of sharing life in its finest moments and even in its most challenging. I wish you shalom, wholeness, a feeling that your life is full, brimming over with good things and blessing. And re'ut, friendship, the feeling that we are partners, colleagues, friends in a mutual quest to make the world just a little bit better a place, and thus find life a bit more deeply meaningful. Ahava, achva, shalom v're'ut. This is my blessing, my hope, my prayer for you. Oheb shalom, this congregation that I love. Cantor. So friends, I think we have Musaf to do. Page 155, let's rise.
With full hearts, full of prayer and full of hope. With achava, shalom v'reut. Yitkadash Shema Rabbi. Ve'amad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'yimechonu v'chayirgo beit Yisrael. V'agalav izman karim v'yimeru amen. Yehei Shema Rabbi mevara ve'alam le'omei amayah. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipam v'yitroma v'yinaseh v'yidada v'yidala v'yidala shmedu kudisha b'richu le'elam ingomechata v'shirata tushbechata v'neramata tamira v'yama v'yimeru amen.
We begin together on 156b.
Let's fill this room with your voices together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rahel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VeHaNorah Hayom Chazadim Tovim Lefanei Yaakov Zocher Chasdei Avot Mevi Goel B'nei B'man Shmo Yava Melech Ozer Ufokeinu Moshia Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ukokei Tzara אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחיי מתים אתה, רב נושיע מחכה חיים בחסד, לחיי מתים לרחמים, סומך נופלים מרפא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני הפעמים עמוק המנהירות ומדרום אליו מלבנית ומבייך ומצמיח איש ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני לחייך
157.
נעריצך ונקדישה כסוד שיח צרפי קודש המקדישים שבחו בקודש ככתוב היה נביאך קורא זר Kadosh, 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 Naitzevah, Melor la'aretz kivod male male olam, kivod male male olam, kivod male Shaharit shoalim ze'ayim Shaharit shoalim ze'ayim Bimatam baruch yomeinu baruch kivod Adonai mimekomo Uyifen berachamim ve'yachonam
Hava Shema Omerim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Ve'hu Yashmienu, Yashmienu, V'rachamav Sheni, 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 B'yeinei Kochai. Yonachem Elohim.
Ani Adonai Elohim.
Divrei kod shecha katuv lemor.
Yiblach Adonai le'olam lo yachzir ledor vador. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד לך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך. Rabbi, you lead this time.
Ledor vador.
לדור ודור,
Ledor vador.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד לך.
Cantor.
לדור ודור, דור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד לך. ושבחך אלוהינו מבין לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי המעל הגדול וקדוש אתה, וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Take time now to consider these beautiful words of hope and restoration through page 161.
Gadal v'gadash meraba, Yamari v'ragedim yamimati v'chayichonim v'chalchayinu b'et Yisrael. Bagalav v'zmankari v'imru amen, Yehei shmera b'mevora, Ve'olam ve'olam Yiparav v'yishtava v'yipav v'yishoma v'naseh v'yitadav v'yitalav v'yitalash v'yikudisha rihu. Le'ila miguvachatan shiratush v'chata v'nermata d'amiram yamav imru amen. Tikabal tzalotohon v'arohon v'chol Yisrael Godam v'chon v'yishmaya v'imru amen. Ehei shlama rabba v'yishmaya v'chaim aleinu v'ako Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imramav yaseh shalom aleinu ve'ako Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imramav yaseh shalom aleinu ve'ako Yisrael
Ein Kelohenu's on 182. You can be seated if you wish, but it's for a very, very short time.
But first, be seated. Radine family, Kayla and Jade.
Definitely be seated.
One day, an old man was walking down the beach just before dawn. In the distance, he saw a young man picking up stranded starfish and throwing them back into the sea. As the old man approached the young man, he asked, "Why do you spend so much energy doing what seems to be a waste of time?" The young man explained that the stranded starfish would die if left in the morning sun. The old man exclaimed, "But there must be thousands of starfish. How can your efforts make any difference?" The young man looked down at the starfish in his hand, and as he threw it into safety in the sea, he said, "It makes a difference to this one."
Rabbi Cooper, throughout your time at Ohab Shalom congregation, it might be difficult to recall all the students you have guided, taught, inspired, and engaged in Jewish life, but we are certain that you made a difference to every single one of them. From all your students, past and present, thank you for all your dedication and passion for Jewish education.
Thank you. Beautifully said. Thank you.
Rabbi Cooper, we have a gift to present to you from the Mickey Fried families. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for touching the lives of our children in such a beautiful way. You have made holidays like Purim and Pesach unforgettable for them. What? You want to say hi? The chicken soup song is something that is part of our Shabbat family tradition, and I'm sure many of our children's families, and it's something that they will remember for their whole lives. So thank you, and we have this beautiful gift from the preschool children.
Why don't you read it for those who...
It says, "It takes a big heart to shape small minds."
Thank you so much. I will absolutely treasure this. Mickey Fried Preschool, 2021.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
(182).
Oops. Enkel Eloheinu, Enkadonenu, Enkel Eloheinu, Enkel Moshiachenu, Enkel Eloheinu, Enkadonenu, Enkel Eloheinu, Enkel Moshiachenu, Mikadonenu, 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 Moshiachenu, no del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, del Eloheinu, no del Moshiachenu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshiachenu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Tahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshiachenu.
Let's rise. The mourners among us, all those observing yard site, whether we are physically present here in this sacred space or at home, we join together now, all of us, for the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 184. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi, v'yalma divrakir utei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaychonu v'yomeichonu v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imeru amen. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha, v'yela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata di'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'meromav huya aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. And Announcements.
Shabbat Shalom and Yasher Koach to all of our leaders and readers and presenters on this most special Shabbat morning to celebrate and honor Rabbi Cooper. And how special it is to be physically in this building with so many of us. And I know there were many more who wanted to be here but couldn't. But hopefully soon we can all be together again. Just a few thank yous that I wanted to do. I'm actually standing in today for Orly Prince, who headed up the committee that planned today. And she is sorry she couldn't be here, but she is celebrating her daughter's graduation, Rachel. So that's where she is. So a special shout out to my friend Orly, and also to the rest of this wonderful committee who did so much work to pull this day together for this wonderful celebration of Rabbi Cooper. Stacy Krakauer, Charles Wantman, Gloria Aaron, Leslie Dannon Rosenthal, Dan Jesselson, Rachel Korsky, Jane Guin-Peels, and of course, all of our staff, Cantor Ricky, of course, in planning this service, Rachel Kahn, Linda Griffler, and Jody Rotundo. And anyone else who I have forgotten, it takes a village to pull something like this together normally, and in a pandemic, so much more went into all of the logistics. So thank you to everyone, and a special thank you to you, Rabbi, for your service for 23 years to our congregation, and for bringing me and Gary here 22 years ago. Thank you. Paul.
Shabbat Shalom. I am in the most dangerous position a synagogue president can be in. And it's not because I'm in the Umud at the Cantor's pulpit, but it's because I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch. So I have some announcements to make, and I know it's hazardous to my health, but I'll make some announcements and we'll get on to the Kaddish, Nitulat Yadayim, and obviously our great lunch outside. So first, for those third graders or fifth graders, tomorrow we have Let Them Eat Cake, which is a nice program. If you haven't yet registered, I'm sure you still can. 12:30 outside. Tomorrow night, we start the festivities around Shavuot. We have the Tikkun Liel, which is going to be pretty cool. Rabbi Cooper is going to lead with several other rabbis, a night filled with Torah study, 12 different offerings. And then Shavuot services are on Monday and Tuesday, 17th and 18th at 9:45 on Zoom, as you all know. We then are having our high school senior Shabbat on Friday, June 4th, on Zoom, 6:30. Come and listen and celebrate our high school seniors. And then we have 3 other events before the end of the fiscal year, which are all can't miss events. First one is we are having an Ob Shalom picnic. Yes, we're bringing back the congregational picnic. It's at Camp Riverbend. It's a chance for us all to say Lehitraot to all the old clergy and Shalom to all the new clergy. So food, ice cream, truck, games, and more. And if you need a ride, Laura Wegner is organizing that, so contact her. Again, that's Sunday, June 6th. And then the thriller of your week, the Ob Shalom annual meeting. Yep, come and grill Sam Gruer, the current treasurer. You get to grill David Meyer, who doesn't know yet. He's the new incoming treasurer. You get to grill me. It'll be a wonderful sense. And we also have some more tributes for Rabbi Cooper. So please, June 15th on Zoom, 7:30. And then lastly, on June 18th, which is not only our Pride Shabbat service, it's also going to be the last event for Cantor Lippitz up here on the Bima. So it's going to be a terrific event, similar to like today, which has been wonderful and a wow. That's going to also be there. So June 18th, be there. So with that, it's time for a Don Olam, and it looks like somebody's getting ready to play. After all these years, it hasn't changed. 187.
Shamru, you want to keep playing?
Oh, yeah, let's rise for Kaddish, which we're going to do up here.
Bring it up by 2.
Yep, yep.
A minor up 2.
Asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu v'tilat yadayim. Amen. Together, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, haposim lechem.
Thank you all for flying Ohab Airlines. Let me explain how we now get out the building to the food. So first, like an airline, we are going to exit all through the left at the end. You'll back that way, so the back rows exit first. Follow the instructions from the usher. You all have a ticket. If you haven't lost it, these are you get your colored food. Go outside, find a table. The staff will direct you. Again, thank you for flying Ohab Shalom Airlines.